Okay, guys, I don't enter every car challenge out there because I really don't have that many cars, but I do have a lot of race cars, so I had to get on board on this here. So thanks to Paul. Is your last name Swatch or Swoke? I'm not really sure, I apologize. But yeah, here we go. So I am going to let you know I'm going to technically maybe have more than 15 cars, but considering a bunch of these cars can sit in the same footprint as a 164 scale car, you'll see why. Okay, so the first car here here is a Austin Mini Cooper, and unfortunately, I don't know who made this model. I just had this model for over like 15 years. I remember it was pretty cheap. It was like $6 when it was new, and it has pretty great details. You know, it's got lensed headlights. It's got all this tampo printing. They're not decals. The reason why I like the Austin Mini is I had one, a classic Mini Cooper, that a Mini Mayfair that I restored and turned into like a rally car like this. Not a real rally car, just a look-alike. But the before the WRC Championship started in 1973, the Austin Mini Cooper won the premier rally called the Monte Carlo Rally, and it won it outright in 1964, 65, and 67. It also would have won 1966, where they took all top three places, but they were disqualified for the wrong headlamp filaments. There's such a weak out for them to lose the wrong headlight filaments. Anyways, this thing only had an 1100 cc engine, making around 90 horsepower. And so this was competing against like a Mercedes-Benz 300 SE and Ford Falcons, which had 6-cylinder and V8 engines that had 3 to 4 times more power. Yet the Mini drives like a go-kart, so and it's being so small, it could drift around things and slide around things, so it won the rallies against the big boys. It was a David and Goliath kind of situation. So, next car I'm going to show here, maybe I'll hold these in my hand here. This is a first generation coupe Skyline GTR called the Hakosuka. And so this is from 1971 to 72, and this model is made by Aoshima. And this is like the first drift car in my opinion. It's rear wheel drive, it's got an inline cylinder 6 up front making 160 horsepower, so just enough power to brake the rear wheels and start drifting. Only like 2,000 of these first generation GTRs were made, so pretty rare. Aoshima is a great brand with in regards to paint quality. Very smooth paint. These graphics though are questionable. I think they could be scratched. But here you got lensed headlights and taillights. And these are all customized Aoshimas. They're like modified by Liberty Walk, I believe. Alright, so let's switch this one out. Alright, so the next one is the Porsche 917. Or I'm sorry, the Porsche 903/8. And this is a different scale. This is a 187 scale. So a lot of these cars they might be different scales because I've never seen a model this nice in 164 scale of this car. This model is made by Spark, and a lot of the ones to come are made by Spark. So you can clearly see this one, the Targa Florio 1970. At the time, the Porsche group was making the 917, and that was dominating the high-speed circuits, but it wasn't very good at short track kind of events. So they developed this 908/3 for short courses where the speeds are typically half the speed of Le Mans. So they're only like in the 100 mile per hour range, not 200 mile per hour range. So anyways, I think it's a really cool model. I mean, look at the details. Look at this metal roll cage for the driver, and look at the printing on the seats. And the mirror has a reflective insert, not silver paint. Look at these rear exhaust tips and all that stuff. The Porsche crest is all there. These are all resin plastic models by Spark, by the way, the ones that you're going to see. So very nice. Okay, so let's swap this one out. Okay, now so the 917, yes, that is next in chronological order here. But this is a prototype one. This is called the 917/20. And when you see all the modern diecasts of cars with this livery, they're all copying this one, I believe. I think this is the first one to have the pink pig livery. And this was called the pink pig because look how wide it is. It looks like a pig. Anyways, this is a R&D car for Porsche. It kind of combined the low drag of the long-tail 917s and the stability of the shorter version, the K series. And it was also a test bed for future Can-Am parts. It only raced once, and it didn't really do too well. So it is on display at the Porsche Museum, I guess, at Stuttgart. I don't recall if I saw that. I've been to that museum. But anyways, yeah, again, Spark model. Look at these details. And this is 187 scale again. So quite nice. Look at this windshield wiper. It's three-dimensional, right? It's a pretty complex windshield wiper too. It's quite nice. Okay. So let me swap these out. Okay, now the next one you may have seen in a previous video of mine, but it's kind of, I think, hidden away in some other Kyosho bundle review. Anyways, this is by Kyosho. This is a Tyrell P34, which raced in the Formula 1 GP in 1976 and 1977, but this is the 76 model, the very first generation. And this model has a lot of technical cheats to work around aerodynamics. Instead of a tall front tire, it's got two short tires to keep it out of the wind, and it obviously has a little more gripping power, or it should have more gripping power, having maybe two of these steerable tires on each side. But anyway, so I just thought it was a really cool model, even from a kid. I still have a Tomica kid model of this car from like the late 70s. So, okay. Now the next one, I'm really hoping someone puts into 1/64 scale, but a nice version. No offense, not a Hot Wheels. This is a Spark model again, it's 187, and this is a Renault R5 Turbo. So, Renault were answering the fact that Lancia was doing so well with their Stratos. So, the Stratos was a mid-engine car, but the Renault 5 was a 4-seat econo box. But they said, hey, let's just jam an engine into the rear instead of the seats, and that's what created this thing. This one debuted in 1980, I guess, but they also sold street versions. I remember seeing a street one just sitting somewhere in Colorado, which is odd because it was never imported officially to America. It was a good gray market car, and it looked awesome. It only had a 1.4 liter turbocharged engine, and depending on what year it was racing, it would make over 200 horsepower up to 380 horsepower. One thing to note, this thing was only rear-wheel drive. So, although it won the Monte Carlo rally in 1981 on its first outing, later on, four-wheel drive started to come, Audi Quattros and all that stuff. So, this is one of the last rear-wheel drive cars to win the Monte Carlo rally. It may have been the last one. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so again, look at this model. Look at these tiny antennae. The wheels, there's like air passing between the spokes. The vents have some grooves in them. You got the, well, in this case, they look like painted taillights. But they got some weird red jewels there as well. Okay, so yeah, graphics are nice. Look at the interior. It's a red dashboard, but blue seats, multiple colors. And it looks like that dashboard even has printing on the gauges. So yeah, Spark model again, doing a great job here. You got these headlights here. I think these are lenses, these fog lights. I think they're lenses or some sort of clear resin. So yeah, I gotta say, these 187 Sparks, they're in general, they blow away most 1/64 scale cars. And these are old models. They're like 10, 15 years old. Okay. Anyways, let's go to the next one here. And this is Porsche 356. So Porsche in 1983, well actually this is in 1982, they ran a few years. These Porsche 956 won Le Mans 4 years straight. So this is in 1982, but they also won in 1983, 1984, and also 1985. So they were dominating for almost half a decade. So the reason why I mentioned 1983 is because one of these cars established a record at the Nürburgring on their long circuit, the 20-kilometer or 13-mile Nordschleife. Maybe that's the short circuit. I apologize. That could be the short circuit. But anyways, it set a record of 6 minutes and 11 seconds during qualifying for the 1,000-kilometer sports car race. and that record stood for 35 years. It wasn't passed until another Porsche, the Porsche 919 Evo, passed it in 2018. So that was a long-standing record. So these cars, the FIA kept on trying to change the rules to stop them, but Porsche just kept modifying them and kept on winning. Later on, after these 4 years of winning, the Porsche 962, which is very similar looking to this, that won, I believe, another 2 years of Le Mans races. So very cool. Alright, you guys looked at that one, so I guess I'll just put this one up here. Okay, so what is the next one? We have, I've done a review on this, so I won't talk about it too much, but this is a model made by Master, and this is of a Land Rover Defender 110. But it's more about the Camel Trophy that you see on the door there. The Camel Trophy is an endurance race that was held between 1980 and the year 2000. It's around a 1,000 mile race or 1,600 kilometers. Very grueling race. And mostly it was just privateers picked with the lottery system. So it's kind of like considered some people call it the Olympics of off-roading, but I'm not sure about that. But anyways, this is a great model. You can look in the history of my reviews for it, but the most outstanding feature are these super soft rubber flaps, and then the super thin traction ramps, I thought were neat, as well as these steel cable, I'm guessing tree branch deflectors. Okay, anyways. Okay, so what is the next car? It's another Spark model, so back to 187 scale. This is a 1990 Tom Walkinshaw Racing built Jaguar Xjr 12. So this thing won Le Mans in 1990, and I just think it's a funky looking LMP car because it has these side skirts over the rear wheels. So I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah, that's, I guess, the most interesting part of it for me. But again, yeah, Spark model does a great job with all the details. Look at all this stuff. It's very nice. One could mistake this for like a 1/43rd scale model, but it's 187. Okay. Trying to keep things fast for you guys. Okay, so the next one, I know there's another video about this in my history where I show it with some other scales, and it's hard for me to not include the McLaren F1 that won Le Mans without thinking about, well, anyways, this is the greatest, one of the greatest race cars of all time for me, because this was competing against purpose-built race cars like that thing behind. But this is originally a street car, and they just added a rear wing and obviously race tires and a few modifications, and it won outright at Le Mans against purpose-built race cars. So that's just amazing to me. So I won't talk about, it's not much to say. If you're curious, this is made by Kyosho. But there's a brand called Scale Mini coming out with one of these, and Scale Mini is a resin model, so it's going to be better than this. And I pre-ordered that the first minute I heard about it. So eventually, when that model comes out, there's going to be a comparison. But this is still a great model, and I'll probably keep it even after the Scale Mini comes in. Okay, so the last 1/64 scale car, I've also done a video on this, and it's the 1999 Mitsubishi Pajero Evo that raced in the Dakar Rally, the Granada Dakar Rally. And I just want to put this in there because the Dakar Rally is a very historic racing event. It's another long distance endurance race where they're racing across multiple countries and all sorts of off-road terrain. So, and they race a long distance every day. Anyways, I didn't talk about this in my first review, but these two racers are the co-pilot, I think it says Thorner. Yeah, Thorner, and the lead driver, Kleinschmidt. Those are ladies. These are women drivers, and these ladies came in third place outright that year. The car that actually won in 1999 was this crazy looking dune buggy looking thing made by Renault. So this is almost like, this looks more like a regular production vehicle you could buy at a Mitsubishi dealership, and yet these two ladies brought it in to third place, which is quite impressive. Okay, this is the part where you might think that I'm kind of cheating and passing the 15 car limit, but I figured you'd probably never seen these models, and since they all fit in the footprint of that Land Rover, you know, I guess I count them as one. But if you look at the picture here, it's hard for me to think about a race car without thinking about the fastest cars on Earth. And so what I have here are the fastest land speed record cars that I care about. And you might be asking yourself, what scale would those be? These are 1/400 scale. So before I was collecting 164 and doing all these YouTube videos, I was collecting 1/400 scale airplanes, die-cast airplanes, and they have the most detailed printing you can imagine. Some of the printing, you can read the Star Alliance text within the tip of a ballpoint pen. Someday I might show, you know, the nice models from that scale, just to give you an idea. But anyway, so going in chronological order here, in 1927, the Sunbeam Mystery 1000 horsepower set a record of 203 miles per hour. This golden one, in 1929, it's called Golden Arrow, set a 231 mile per hour speed record on the sands of Daytona Beach. On that same beach in 1931, the Bluebird 4 hit 246 miles per hour. And then in 1935, the Bluebird 5 hit 301 miles per hour. You know what? I'm going to move in here so you guys can get a better idea of what's going on. And also, this spinning thing is just kind of driving you crazy, right? It's driving me crazy, so... Alright, so that's as far down as my camera stand can actually angle, so I apologize. Alright, so... Bluebird 5, we had 301 miles per hour. This silver one from 1937 is called Thunderbolt, and it has 8 wheels and weighed 7 tons. And it hit 312 miles per hour. Over here, we have the Railton Special, which came out in 1938, and it hit 353 miles per hour. And I think this was the last piston-powered record setter. Okay. This next one in 1964, so that's the big jump now from 1938 to 1964. This is called the Bluebird Cn7, and this was powered by a turbine engine called a Proteus, and it had set a record of 403 miles per hour. Okay, in 1964, let's see here, the Wingfoot Express hit 413 miles per hour, but this is a jet-powered car. And then you might recognize this one. This is the Spirit of America in 1964. This hit 526 miles per hour. Okay, this one never actually set a record, but I thought it was interesting. It's from 1965, and it's called the Wingfoot Express number 2. This is powered by JATO rockets. JATO rockets are attached to like Hercules airplanes. They're rockets to help boost heavy planes off the ground. And so this is powered by a bunch of JATO rockets. So Jet Assisted Takeoff is what that acronym stands for, by the way. I thought that was interesting. Okay, here we have something called the Goldenrod. That's not meant to be a joke, by the way. It's from 1965, and it used 4 Hemi engines, and it held the wheel-driven land speed record from 1965 to 1991, where all these other ones are like jet-powered or air-powered. This green one is called the Green Monster 27, and this is from 1964 and 65. I guess it held the record for a year or two, and it hits 576 miles per hour. Okay, this next one you might recognize as well, although it's missing the front wings. It's called the Spirit of America Sonic 1, and this is it held the record between 1965 and 1970, and this thing hit 600 miles per hour. Okay, and then in 1970 to 1983, the record of 622 miles per hour was held by the Blue Flame. Okay, and then we have this one that held the record between 1983 to 1997. This is called Thrust 2, and this thing went 633 miles per hour. The current record holder that was set in 1997 to present day, called the Thrust SSC, this thing went 763 miles per hour and was the first to officially break the sound barrier. So you'll notice this thing is massive. It has 2 jet engines powering it through the air. So that's it. When I think of race cars, these cars are racing at serious speeds, you know. I tried to pick out some race cars that you may have not seen, but also just race cars that represent historic races like Monte Carlo and the Camel Trophy and Dakar and stuff. So, okay, well, I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, sorry it was a long video, but thanks again, Paul, and thanks for everyone else for... Actually, I found out about this through XLT Off-Road Bears channel, but everyone's channels are awesome. It's nice to see different models by everyone, so... Okay, I'll see you guys around. Bye.